Former management consultant at Ernst & Young. He holds a master's in business management and a BCom honors in marketing. He is the co-founder and managing director of The Odd Number, a through-the-line ideas agency founded in April 2015, which in 2016 was recognized as one of the top 20 agencies in the country. It also won a gold and one bronze Luris, a gold Pendoring, and the coveted Umpeta Award in the first 19 months of existence. So Xola hails all the way from Soweto, so we're guys, and he managed to become a CEO. So we've got the pleasure of listening to Xola. So can we please give him a big round of applause, guys?
Thank you, Chad. Morning, everyone. Morning. I recognize that you were spoiled for choice, so I appreciate you being here with us for the next hour or so. I don't take it for granted. So, Chad is quite right. My name is Xola. I don't know how I found myself here today, but again, you just interrupted my flow. We have to start from scratch. That's better? Yes. Sorry about that, guys. So let's get into it. My presentation is divided into two sections. The first being a brief intro into who I am and my business journey to date. In the second section, we'll get into the heart of the topic, which is the customer chronicle, right? Looking at the case for fun and futuristic communication. How's the screen? Is it decent? Does it look good? So, I guess, my story is completely intertwined with that of The Odd Number. I don't think I'd be here today if it wasn't for our journey in The Odd Number. But with that said, there's a journey that precedes The Odd Number, and that's my business journey. So, I have to also say, my journey is also interwoven with that of my lifelong friend and business partner, Tole. So it would be amiss of me to talk about my journey without talking about our collective growth story, if you like. So I'm sure you can recognize me over there. I'm the one on the left. Spusiso is the one on the right. It's probably about 20 years between the picture and the left and the right. Not much has changed, just the receding hairline, protruding bellies. But I mean, I remember that picture, the one to my left, quite vividly. Right, this must have been around 1998, and so much is happening around us. What I was clear about at that point is I wanted to be in business. Right, around that time there was a strong emergence of big black business. Some of you may have heard of Head Boys, yes. Vela Panda, led by Tokyo Sekwani, Safika. Iso Capital, which was led by Fanny Titi, who's now the CEO of Investec. So these big black-owned businesses were just growing around us. So, for me, I was completely inspired by those journeys, and I felt, whilst I don't know what I want to do with my career or my life, what I do know is I want to be in business, right? So excuse the, I guess the immaturity of a 14, 15-year-old, but I didn't have a specific domain or profession or vocation, but I wanted to be in business. At the same time, Spusiso and I would often talk about, one day starting a business together, one that would complement our respective skill sets, and that journey continued. So in about grade 10, as you know, you choose subjects. I decided to go the more commercial route, so business economics, accounting, maths, etc. He decided to go the arts. Right, so he did history, drama, and art. When we got to matric, we obviously went through the process of applying for universities. He decided to go study advertising in Cape Town. I decided to stay here to study or to read for a BCom degree, and so we did. 3-4 years later, we'd obviously get together over the holidays, but the idea of again starting a business was really crystallized after our varsity journey. So he'd come back home and we'd say, yeah, we still want to do this thing. And so we did. We started a couple of businesses before we landed on The Odd Number. The first was a laundromat, believe it or not. It failed. We then started, we tried to buy into a filling station. We're in our early 20s at this point, so of course that failed dismally. But then we went back to, you know, what it is that is an extension of our self-concepts, right? For me, it was at that point marketing and business. For him, it was advertising, and we figured, let's build around this. It was only about 6-7 years later that we eventually registered our business. But at that point, as you can imagine, we're growing in our respective careers. I closed off my corporate career at Ernst & Young in the management consulting space as part of a strategy team. Spusiso was at Ogilvy. Some of you may have heard of it, looking after accounts like KFC and MultiChoice. So we felt this is probably the right time, right? We were probably about 31 or 32 at the time. So we resigned from our respective corporates, and on the 1st of April 2015, the odd number was born. It probably sounds, it was a lot harder than I'm making it sound, but I don't think we have enough time. So 1st of April 2015, we move into a small shoebox office in a business center, and we get to work. It was only 3 months later that we were offered an opportunity, or afforded an opportunity, by KFC Africa. So Spusiso had worked on the accounts, had built relationships with some of the clients, and they felt sorry for us and gave us an opportunity. So the brief was to launch the Streetwise 2 brand in East and West Africa, right? Kenya and Nigeria. So you can imagine, 3 months in, we haven't had a salary for 3 months. It's getting quite tense at home now. You know? There's nothing happening. So we get this opportunity, and it really gave birth to the odd number. 8 years later, we're a solid business. By the grace of God, we ranked amongst the leading agencies in the country. We've got a happy and healthy team, and we, will continue to grow. So what we do when we present to clients or new team members, we take them through our journey in all of about 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm going to play for you a video here that gives you a sense of our journey, talks to some of our milestones, but importantly, it gives you a sense of our culture. Hope you enjoy it. Independent, integrated, insightful, and intelligent. 4 key ingredients that make up an advertising agency ranked number 2 in South Africa. In the beginning, it was just a dream to liberate the African aesthetic, a dream to match truly South African insights with innovative ideas, and a dream to build one of the most iconic independent agency groups on the continent. We are the odd number. Since inception, we've been on a mission to build meaningful relationships with brands and consumers. We've done this through the power of ideas, excellence in craft, and meaningful storytelling by a creative studio that has significant understanding of culture and the magic of technology to create deep resonance for our clients. Brand South Africa, Nedbank, Ashupol, BBC Studios, Budget Insurance, and Game Stores are a few of the clients who have chosen to partner with our agency. These partnerships have achieved results beyond our own expectations. With BBC Studios, we won our very first Lurie's Grand Prix in 2020. Ashupol has seen a 319% lift in leads generation. Game has successfully repositioned itself with its memorable You've Got Game brand platform, which involved completely redesigning its in-store experience and layout. And Brand South Africa received international recognition at both the One Show Awards as well as the DNAD Awards. Our strength is found in our unique odds methodology, an acronym for Observe, Diagnose, Design, Deliver, and Sustain. This approach is simple yet effective, and at each stage it requires both ourselves and our clients to collaborate in finding a liberating creative solution for their brand. To us, the Odd Number is not just an ad agency. It's a diverse family of people from different backgrounds who strive for nothing but excellence in the work through liberated thinking. People passionate about business, ideas, creativity, brand building, and seeing dreams come true. And so far, many of those dreams have come true. Like being the most awarded 100% Black-owned agency of all time, being consistently ranked amongst the top agencies in the Middle East and Africa region, winning Ad Focus Agency of the Year twice, as well as multiple awards locally and globally, including a Cannes Lion Silver in 2022. And we're not done yet. Yesterday, our dream was to be one of the most respected communications business in Africa. Today, we want to build an empowered global creative force. simply because we believe that our agency can liberate people, liberate brands, and liberate this, our country. We are the odd number. Liberation starts today. Vandaag, namhlanje, kanje. Thank you. I was hoping for that reaction. So the infographic behind me really gives you a macro view of the business on a slide. Two things I want to call out, right? The first is just our reason for being, and for us it's really to build meaningful relationships between brands and consumers. So that's how we sell ourselves to our clients. But what underpins all of that is liberation, right? We believe in liberating our clients' brands, but also liberating consumers, right? And deciding on which brands they want to pursue. The rest is just governance, but really gives you a sense of the journey. Enough about the odd number. The real reason, I guess, why we're here is to talk to customer chronicles, cracking the code of fun and futuristic communication. When I received this topic, I was like, yeah, where do we start, right? I think there's just so much to unpack. So what I've done is I've split the topic into two. So we'll look at cracking the code of fun communication separate to futuristic communication, right? So cracking the code of fun communication, I'll take you through a live case study, so work that we've done in our business that speaks to work that's fun, but tells a beautiful story, captures a beautiful nuance, and is insightful, right? But it's not contrived and it's not patronizing. It's fun, but purposeful, right? Work that delivers on a brand value, but also great for the agency, but also for the client. So this is kind of the journey I'll take you through in just unpacking what fun is pertaining to comms. And then we'll look at future communication or the trends in comms going forward. We'll have a look at a few case studies supported by a few insights. Is that okay? Yes? Thank you. Fatties and Noni. So about 8 months ago, we were approached by Tiger Brands to work on their Fatties and Nonis brand. And the brief to us was simply put together a campaign that's inspiring and that'll resonate with the market, right? But it needs to look beautiful and make sure it captures a different element of the market. As we were unpacking the brief, we got to realize that, well, the client was quite clear that they want to move the brand from sort of upper middle class white folk to target black people. So we're like, cool, we can do that. But what came out of that is that, pasta is often considered intimidating to a black market, right? Further to that, the clinical way in which pasta ads were typically shown, where pretty white kitchen with beautiful tiles and a mom whipping up a delicious meal, was kind of where they were as a brand. Thirdly, there was an issue around having to be Italian to eat Italian or just resonate with Italy. So that was the brief in a nutshell. So we distilled the brief into one sentence, right? Succinctly. So for us, it was make pasta a part of local culture. So, in doing so, we coined the term. We didn't coin it. I mean, the term exists. It's Afro-Italian, so Afro-Italian. So we decided to lean into this phrase or this term, and in doing so, we realized that there's a sub-community that exists in the country where guys aspire for everything Italian, right? I'm Italian. You know them. Your uncle is probably one, or wants to be one. The way they dress, the mannerisms, the just identifying with all things Italy, right? So this sub-community exists, right, already. So we decided to take this, call it this global brand that is pasta, but localize it and make it feel comfortable. So when you sidetrack just a bit, so when you present to a client who's just given you a brief, right? So now you've conceptualized the campaign and you're now playing back to them what the ad looks like. What you do is you show a reference, right? So you find a reference that speaks to what the ad could look like, right? Further to that, you find references of what the wardrobe will look like, the color, how the food will be shot, etc. So part of finding a reference, we came across this I think it was a video online, it must have been, of this subculture of Ama Italiano that exists.
They say we're a town that doesn't know its rules. a town with no value, the government that was all full of potholes, no cost government services, no hope for the big dreamers, no winners, just a bunch of people who think they live in Italy. We got it all wrong. This is a very special time, deep rooted, but you still know something that's needed. Our parents taught us well. My son, if it's made in Italy, buy it. Yes, this is the Italian town in Africa. Van, get the boats right. We are the coolest, the most creative, the most stylish. The sharp about the beginning.
Yeah. Who's from Wow? Today you all come to doing. They exist. And so I'm not sure what slide is next, but so yes, I spoke about references. So in selling the concept to the client, we said to them, so look, we're going to lean into beautiful fashion, right? Pop of color. We're gonna make sure the food is shot beautifully, and we're gonna capture all that is South African, but also global, right? So this was just a reference of stylistically how we would shoot the ad. So then the creators got to work and they put together the ad. We shot it through our own production company, and this was the product.
This is nothing. This is just who we are.
Right. What's rated?
The most cool. The most popping. That's why I was pizza. I'm an Italian. We speak Italian. We date Italian. We even drive Italian. Living a Dolce Vita. And now you can see, that's what it is. Gale, we're Italian. And we always eat Italian. Every day. Vetisimonis. Bravo to you.
Thank you. So that was the journey of receiving a brief from a client. And you must imagine a brief is quite cold, right? You can't feel it. You know, you have to imbue feeling into it, right? So we received the brief and made it our own. So it landed really well. It's done fantastically well in the market for the brand, but also at a numbers from a numbers perspective. And you know, happy with the team very proud of the team that put this together. But also happy that the client took a chance on being local, right? But it's not flippant in how the guys did it. It's special. It has feeling to it. I think the thing to take out here is whilst creative work can be fun, it also has to tell a story, right? It has to be relevant. It has to be personalized, and it's all about the insight. So we believe in powerful, insightful communication that can be fun, and sometimes it doesn't have to be fun, right? These were the out-of-home executions. So a campaign involves, you know, TV, radio, you know, below the line. Part of the out-of-home executions obviously drew from the insight, which is we always eat Italian, right? So Italian, eat Italian. And this is the online and you know, sort of the social executions. We're going to do a bit of an exercise, get you guys involved a bit as well, and connect what the future of technology or future of comms is with how we've been doing things, right? So the question to you is, can ChatGPT write a better script than a copywriter? You nodding, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Think so.
You think so? So think about it, right? So the creative process is personal, right? It draws on insights. You have to put together a story. Now my question still stands: can ChatGPT write a script better than a copywriter? Right? Okay. So you're saying no. You're saying yes, no. Now let's put it to the test, right? So we're going to put it to the test. So if you are a copywriter in an agency, right, and you receive this brief, the client says, I've got Fatty Zedmoni's pasta brand, I want you to sell it to a black audience. Who wants to come and try this here? Please go do this. So we want to see if ChatGPT can write a better script than a copywriter. I'll help you, right? I'll give you the first 2 or 3 words. So hang on. Oh. You love it. So the question would be, Write a TVC, television commercial. Oh, just hang on. I'll give you the first sort of half of the sentence. Write a TVC for a pasta brand, and then you can figure out the rest. So let's see. Sorry? So you just go TVC, you can just do the acronym. Or even television, write it as you would. I get what you said, it can.
Any brand?
Pasta, really Italian pasta.
Yes.
And then Chad, if you don't mind, let's see what comes up and let's read the script together. So I didn't get your name there. Muleli. Muleli and Chad will read the script. And then just in your mind, just play back what you've seen, the journey of actually putting together an ad that has personality with what we might see here. If you're not happy with the question, please say so, eh? Or if you want to add to it. If you want to add to it. Oh,
should have put in the red card there.
yeah?
It's writing the whole script for the TVC, not a conceptual idea.
Correct. So it's about the question you would have put in, right?
Yeah.
But let's lean into what we see, right? So Muleli is a copywriter, and she decided she wants to cut corners. She wants to. Sorry, man.
I've got a question.
Yes, please.
Are we assuming that everyone knows what ChatGPT is?
Yes, we are.
Because I am not in advertising,
No,
and unfortunately,
No,
I don't
we're-
know. I don't know.
No, we're absolutely.
I don't know what ChatGPT is.
Who does know?
So, yeah.
Well, just found out.
She's what's your name, man?
Zukanye.
Zukanya, your name, sir? Suresh. Chignesh. Please explain to our sister what ChatGPT is. And we're going to get to it in the presentation.
So ChatGPT is it's an AI model that's I'm not sure I'm getting this like completely right.
No, you are.
Yeah, it's an AI model that then will respond based on what it's been trained on to try and answer your questions.
Yeah.
So a lot of like coding related stuff as well you can use it for. The question that they asked us on the Henley form as well. Before you submitted your
That's why
application.
Okay.
No, there's just a few examples, but you can ask it a lot of things. But I think it's only got data up until 2021.
Yeah.
But in general, if you ask it in the correct way, it will almost always be able to get you 90% of the time.
I think you should take over this. No, he's right. It's artificial intelligence, it's machine learning. So the more you ask it questions, the more it learns, right? And gives you back a response. This is the script. I mean, it's long. Do we even want to read it? I think you can do it yourself. But this is the question we put in. And of course, the questions will vary. But think of the ad that you just saw. The quite, the flavor, quite literally, that was in that ad vis-a-vis. Welcome to a culinary journey like no other. Introducing Zuri pasta, where the rich flavors of Africa blend, etc., etc., etc. Point I'm making here is, thank you, ma'am. Do we want to try it again with a different question? But you get it, right? Can we switch back to the presentation? And again, it depends on what you feed the system, right? The point is, yes, ma'am.
Sorry to interrupt, just in defense of ChatGPT.
In your defense, you mean?
No, just to put a perspective to it, right? It's not all lost. We need to embrace it.
Absolutely.
It's technology. Sorry.
Absolutely.
So, but even if you're a copywriter, you need an idea. You need how to structure it. You need some sort of wording. Obviously, you have to put a personal touch to 100%. It. But what that script does, it gives you an idea of where and how to start. 100%. So it's not all.
You need an insight, right? You need an insight, and insights come from lived experiences, right? So I think. Do you want to answer? Sure.
So, interesting story about ChatGPT when we were doing the adjudication for the over 700 applications that we received. There were 83 candidates with identical responses.
It's plagiarism.
So then we thought, oh, this is interesting. So we went to ChatGPT and we just copy pasted our question and we got the exact same response. So we wrote to those candidates to say, look, we are concerned. We don't know how to grade you because 83 of you wrote the same thing.
Yes.
So just FYI.
So there you go. And it's happening in high schools, it's happening in varsities. But I think, I don't have much time, guys. I can't
I was about to say that, guys. Can we reserve the questions for after's presentation, eh?
Yeah.
Cool.
So I guess the exercise demonstrates a couple of things. One is that we need to embrace technology, right? But we can't be lazy. We still need to do our work. I feel, the likes of, ChatGPT enable us to work quicker, but you still need to have the insight, right? You still need to tell a story in how you communicate. And I'm speaking for my industry, and the guys in banking will obviously have a different view. But what I'm saying is, our jobs as communicators or comms practitioners are safe, right? Because firstly, you need to almost filter down the question to an absolute T to get back. There you go, right? So let's not be lazy. Let's let technology enable us. That's the point I wanted to make. I did mention that the presentation is divided into two. First is sort of what fun work looks like, but work that's also meaningful and makes a difference. Second half of the conversation, please keep me honest with time, Chet. It's just looking at the future of comms, right? The future of communication. What is the future of communication? You asked the question, ma'am. What is ChatGPT? I feel the bedrock of all comms going forward will be augmented reality, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence. So Mandy Sim, who's a strategy partner at Carrot is like one of the leading agencies, speaks about how it's about the same principle, it's putting people first, and it's disruptive and distinct communication. That's absolutely true. That's what we've been doing for centuries, right? The principles of marketing will remain the same. It's about putting people first, right? Banks speak about the cradle to grave strategies. It's about putting people first and curating them through the customer journey. But it's also about distinct and disruptive communication. That exists, right? But then there's also technology. That should just enable what it is that we do. She also speaks about building agnostic media strategies. That simply means, so understanding when and where your target market is most engaged, but it's also understanding who your target market is, what it is they're into, and where it is that they spend their time online, right? So we continue doing what we do as marketers, but then we use technology to enable what we do. Jackie Lyons, head of planning at Havas, also a multinational, speaks about a couple of key things that I was drawn to. One is storytelling, right? And it's personalization and using an enhanced digital landscape to communicate, right? Storytelling, I keep harping on it, and personalization, right? Making stuff relevant to a particular audience. So you can see that the more things change, the more they remain the same. We need to continue doing much of what it is that we do, but use the tools, AI, VR, etc., to enable what it is that we do, right? Both as brands and consumers. How will this happen? You probably can't see that, neither can I, so I'll move closer to this. So the future of advertising is AI-powered in 2023 and beyond, simply meaning, it'll enhance and it'll be a lot more effective as machine learning improves, right? So you spoke about AI and how we feed information into a system and how that information gets better and better with time. Interesting sidebar, interesting analogy here. One of our clients, Masterclass, refuses for us to take their data or company information and play around with it on various platforms like ChatGPT. For the obvious reason that it's data, right? And as more people feed into it, you might as well give away this strategy. Becoming more personalized based on users' interests. So brands are realizing the importance of personalizing their work, putting together work that's relevant, and once they get better at this, it becomes a powerful marketing tool, right? Because they know who you are and they target you. And we talk about proximity marketing being a priority. So it's about understanding the right client at the right time, putting together work that's personalized and relevant, but further added with like geo-positioning technologies. So you're walking in a mall and a brand or brands communicate with you. That's where we're going. It's happened already, but it's probably a bit more overt now. Social proof is trusted. We talk about how testimonials are best received from people that you trust, right? So if I trust that you bought into a brand and you speak highly of it, I'm most likely buy into it simply because you're telling me about it and I trust you and your version of the truth around that brand. That's becoming very important. What is equally important as marketers and advertisers is, you know, we need to social proof our advertising. And of course, content production, right? All influencers are content producers. You're a content producer. But influencers are also building brands, right? As brands, marketers, we also need to build content because our market lives on the digital landscape, right? So we need to be able to react almost instantaneously to what's happening around us. And as a brand, if you curate your own content, it's a lot more effective than waiting through a process to get your messaging out there. So brands are becoming content producers, and we're seeing that. So how are brands embracing technology? Well, they're leaning into a couple of things. One, they're acknowledging digital, as you know. I want to talk you through a quick case study, but play it. So Brazil is quite a, you know, obviously very populated, and 87% of the population, believe it or not, are gamers, right? So they love gaming on various different platforms. So what Heineken did, when we speak about personalization and being relevant and speaking to a market, what they did is they put together a campaign. They're not selling product and price. They're showing you that they're part of your culture. They put together a campaign that's obviously online to connect the various gamers across that landscape. And this was the campaign. Tagline being, not all nights out. How cool is that? Right. Not selling, you know, a six-pack at, how much is a six-pack these days? You would know. You know, it's like, you know, you're living with the brand, right? It exists in your community. They're creating the digital AI again. So this is a campaign by Hip Hop Public Health in the States. So the issue, as you know, sugar is a big issue, probably more pronounced there than it is here. But what they were starting to see is that products were, the sugar label on products were now being called something else. There's like 150 different names for sugar, right? Synonyms, if you like. And you would find this on like juice boxes, energy bars and whatever that kids are consuming. Big issue. So they put together this campaign where it's a game, right? So you get the kids involved, but you also get the adults involved because they effectively are curating that game, but also driving home a social message, right? So it's relevant and it's personalized. That will remain the future of advertising for me, using technology. So this is the campaign.
Overconsumption of sugar is right now a public health crisis.
Access to healthy food is a racial and health equity issue.
We need to address these health inequities, and we need to address it in our children. There is so much added sugar in products, but you wouldn't know it because companies have stopped calling it sugar.
Maltodextrin, maltodextrin. Nah, man, it's sugar. Sugar. It's all sugar.
150 names for sugar. How do you even stop fighting that? I'll tell you how. We're exposing all sugar's disguises.
Hip-hop legend Daryl McDaniels from the influential group Run DMC.
Sneak up in your body just to get you up. I keep changing my name and get you music video uses hip-hop to get kids excited about nutrition. The Little Sugar app uses gaming to turn kids into sugar experts. Just point your camera at any packaged food to reveal which sugar character is hiding inside. Collect all the sugars and battle your friends to earn points. It's like Pokemon Go meets public health. And the Little Sugar storybook, geared towards younger kids, creates a moment of shared learning between parent and child. The campaign is backed by hip-hop royalty. And we've already reached millions of children through community events and school curricula nationwide.
But if we cannot mitigate these disparities, if we can't push back the waves of premature death, then marching is going to be in vain. Action is what is needed. That is what Hip Hop Public Health and Little Sugar are all about.
You can't fool us anymore, Little Sugar.
Better watch out. We're coming for you.
You're public enemy number one.
Yeah, it was a cans winning campaign, so it did very well. I don't think I've got much time, but I'm going to rush through the others. I probably won't play this next one, but brands are becoming the digital. So as you know, in the tourism industry was hard hit in COVID. There's a resort called Xola in Singapore that wanted to launch in sort of that Q1 of 2020. So because of the hard lockdown restrictions, they couldn't. So what they did was they put together almost an experience, a virtual experience of the resort, where whilst you know in hard lockdown at home, you've got like a journey, a visual journey of the resort, right? And at the end of it, the sales cycle was that you could book your holidays for eventually when it is that we come out of lockdown. So they did this really well, and at the time it was just really cool, just because people were craving a holiday. See you engaged, but sorry guys. Last one, just to close off, fairly recent, so it makes sense to talk to it now. This was a campaign by the Rick Foundation, where they took his words, so stuff that he spoke on various online platforms, and matched that with his voice to put together a song, right, that speaks to mental health. One or two of you may have seen it. I think it was just really cool. They've effectively brought Rick back to life, right, through his art. And I think, how great is that just for the family, even going forward, right? I just think it's a beautiful touch. It's personalized and it's relevant, and it just pulls at the heartstrings. How many of you have seen it? Fantastic. I'm going to play it for those who haven't, which is like 95%. So this was it. I'm sure you can find it. Thank you guys, I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. But just before we get to the stage, we all know that our prestigious guests are here to maybe perhaps pose some questions. I know that some of you guys did have some questions for Xola, so you can raise your hands and then let's get the questions. Hello. Oh, you've got the mic there. Sharp. Can you get your name and your question, please?
Yes, hello.
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 Hi there.
I'm Nizanande Martin. I'm curious to find out from you if the future of advertising will start to become quite integrated intersectorally. So, for example, because of AI, VR, all of them, are we moving towards a advertising company, because of all the behavioral data it has, starting to look like a research company? Is that a future that we can imagine or allow ourselves to imagine?
I think we should. Thank you for the question. I think we should allow ourselves to imagine all of that, right? I think how businesses are created, effectively created through solving problems and challenges. So, there's absolutely a market for that. I think, there was a lot of talk around when digital started coming to the fore, how digital is a different channel or a different platform, vis-a-vis TV and radio. But what integrates everything is the story, right? It's the insight, it's the concept. So you can live across multiple channels And the technology that exists further augments the story that we're telling and allows us to get to market quicker, right? It allows us to get to market to the specific market. It allows us to be relevant to the specific market. Whether agencies would build around just one idea of what that can do, I think they'd be limiting themselves to what others, other opportunities exist in the market. I was chatting to a friend, and so they've got Standard Bank as an account, right? And they've built a whole AI studio. I think it's in the agency or at the bank, one of the two. But they're not building a separate business. It's within the business. And all, sort of divisions, if you like, within the business work together to solve the client problem. Hope that answers your question. Cheryl,
I think so. You think so? Shoot, there you go.
Hi, I'm Slintile. I am a copywriter by trade.
Oh.
And I was curious to know, with the new creatives that are coming into your space, especially into your company, how are you finding the challenge? Because now we're in more of a remote environment and more of a hybrid setting.
Yeah.
So it's really changed how creativity can come to life and finding insights can also come to life. So my question is, how are you sort of igniting that for those creatives that are coming up so that you don't end up with ChatGPT creative?
Love it. So Gen Zers is what they're called. So we've got a couple. I love it, right? One of them, so it happened as recent as this past week where in our strategy consultancy, we've got a young lady, she's sharp, she's great. She goes to her line manager and says, I want to work 3 days a week because I don't like being in the office. I feel strained, I'm not inspired, I'm not chatting to people, I'm not meeting with people. Her manager's initial response was like, no ways, we work 5 days a week in the office. And I was like, no, give her that opportunity, right? Because we don't know what's going to come of it, right? It's about lived experiences. Insights come from everywhere, right? If she feels a burning passion or desire to be out in the world, working at a coffee shop, working in a different province, but still delivers, and I know she can, and that's probably why we gave her the latitude, absolutely, I'm all for it. I think at a governance level, she must clock in 40 hours a week, which is what we work, right? But it's also giving somebody the responsibility to do that. So I embrace it. I love it. They challenge you, these young ones, right? But you see it in the product that comes out, and it can. And if you're not intimidated by it, you embrace it. So I love it. Give you another example. So another lady in the agency had to write. I forget. It was like quite a hard document, right? Not necessarily a press release, but something. And she used ChatGPT. She was quite honest about it. So you also don't have to hide behind ChatGPT, right? Embrace it. And all it did for her was it allowed her to get to the solution quicker, which was great. We embraced it. It exists. Use the tool. Don't be intimidated by the tool. So I love it. I embrace it. I think there's a way to keep it close and not allow it to spiral under control or out of control. And that's the trick, I think. Thank you.
Hello everyone. My name is Usobzi. My question is around the advertising, right? So my thing is, I've got a plan to start a company where I provide a service to businesses. But my thing is, how do I then link my service to their increase maybe in sales? Because I saw when you were showing us the presentation that you prepared, you mentioned that ever since you engage with the Fetis brand, ever since you engage with the Fetis brand, there has been this effect maybe on the sales and their brand itself. So how do you then generate the numbers to say that this is the impact we have had on the brand?
Yeah. Well, firstly, we solve business challenges creative as an agency, right? So whilst we're a creative agency, we solve business challenges. And it's important, again, for us not to shy away from the quantitative, if you like, side of the ask, right? So it's understanding where are they as a market, what is their share of market, how do they want to grow, what are the SKUs, just whatever it is that we're delivering or servicing. It's understanding ultimately once the work is done, once the campaign is done, how does it meet your business objectives, right? More and more CMOs have to be accountable to a board a CFO, a COO, a CEO. So it's not just about the beautiful work that wins awards. It's also about work that works, right? Work that delivers on a business imperative. How do we do it? Well, at strategy phase, right? At that point, you engulf yourself really in what it is that you're trying to solve for. Make sure that you understand it creatively and commercially. Remember, creatives then take the strategy and then work off of that, right? So they're solving off of a strategic find and delivering a creative solution for that. So it's done almost in tandem.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So we have to adjourn at exactly 11:55, but I think I can spare 5 minutes more. So I'm going to ask us to only take 2 last questions, and then we can close off.
Sure.
Hi everyone.
Hi there.
My name is Pagamani.
Yes, sir.
Understanding that until you are able to let money go, you are in no authority to call it to come. And also that money does not answer to prayer. My question is, after failing, like you said you failed a couple of times before you could at least get your breakthrough.
Yeah.
How did that affect you mentally? And also, you know, like losing is never, it's very painful.
Yeah.
But what encourages you to push more and also maybe
Yeah.
venture into another idea?
Yeah.
Or how do you then take a decision to say, I'm letting this idea go, and then this is what I want to venture into?
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. I can only speak for myself. I mean, we have different experiences, but for me, there was no way we're gonna fail, right? But it's part of the journey. It's not failure isn't a destination. You don't stop once you fail. You continue on the journey. And again, it's just creating your reality through your thinking. I always knew that we're gonna get into business. I'll get into business. I don't know what business it is, but I got into business. I know it'll succeed only because that's the only option. And again, success is not a destination. It's not that you now succeeded, right? You fail forward, right? It's believing that you can, and why not? It costs you nothing. It's believing that you will succeed in anything, and I live by that. It's obviously just conditioning. It's obviously not easy, but I believe we must all succeed in whatever it is that we want to do. But we will stumble along the journey, and I think this term failure is one that's also just limits our ambition. So don't think of it as failure, it's the journey. And there's peaks and troughs throughout the journey. And there is no final destination. They call it success, but I don't think it exists.
Hi, Xola. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you so much.
I just wanted to ask, with regards to productions and the relationships that you have with productions and executing your creative process, and what sort of relationships do you have with them? Because I was waiting for that in your presentation, and I think I heard you say something under. Along the lines of you did it through your production company. So that interested me a lot, because I can imagine through the creative process, your production company and your agency would be like such a power sort of company. So how do you do that?
Fantastic, love it. Chad was asking me what else I do besides my day job, and I said, so what we did in 2020. Q1, we started a production company, simply because we realized we're foregoing margin by coming up with the idea and then finding a production company to shoot that idea for us. So then we decided we're going to build a production company so that we can curate our own stories. We make sure that the concepts that we come up with, we shoot them exactly how we want to. And that's not always the case. There's some campaigns that we farm out to other production companies just because they're a lot more skilled at doing a particular kind of shoot, right? But the reason for setting up the company is called Triple Story Content. Check them out. They've done amazing work online. Triple Story Content. So we built this company to not only shoot our productions, but to shoot other advertising agencies' productions. Right? We recently shot an Isuzu campaign through that company. We just shot a Shell campaign. They've been in Nigeria shooting for Milo and Nestle. So it's not just for us solely as the odd number, it's for the market as well to tap into that. The other key thing, and I must not forget what it is what was I going to say? So it's building out the value chain. So what we're looking to do is build out the value chain. So whilst we've got the odd number as the advertising agency, we've got a production company, which is Triple Story Content. We've also got a strategy consultancy called the Strategy Network. And there'll be PR, there'll be sports marketing, there'll be media. So it's growing out the value chain so that you can influence the work that goes out.
All right.
Yeah.
So I guess an hour is never enough, guys. Ne? Yeah. So Xola, I think from my side, as well as Ilisaka and the Lincoln Mali Foundation, as well as Henley Business School, we just got a token of appreciation to thank you for coming out today.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it. So yeah, I think that ends our session, guys. We are going to break for lunch, and I think the next session is going to start at exactly 1 o'clock. So please be on time. And I think for the next session, we'll probably ask for about 2 hours, just so that everyone can be accommodated. But thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Cheers.